1 in 200 men alive on Earth today share the same Y chromosome. Not because of a recent common ancestor, not a great-great-grandfather a few generations back. Because of a single man who lived and died 800 years ago, and who built the largest land empire in the history of the world. This is the story of how Genghis Khan, conqueror, emperor, and the most reproductively successful individual ever documented in human genetics, came to leave his mark not just on maps and history books, but on the very DNA of 16 million people living today. He was born around 1162 CE in the mountains, north of what is now Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia. His name was Temujin, a name given in honor of a captured enemy his father had just defeated. The Mongolian steppe of the 12th century was not a unified place. It was a patchwork of competing tribes: Merkits, the Tatars, the Naimans, the Karaits, engaged in near-constant warfare and raid cycles that had lasted for generations. Temujin's childhood was defined by violence. His father was poisoned by rivals when he was 9. He was captured and enslaved by a rival clan in his teens. He escaped. He was sold again. He escaped again. What made him extraordinary was not what happened to him. It was what he did in response. Through military brilliance and strategic marriage alliances, he began to unite the tribes. In 1206 CE, at a great gathering of tribal leaders known as the Kurultai, he was proclaimed Genghis Khan, universal ruler. He was, at that moment, the master of the entire Mongolian plateau. He was not yet 50 years old, and he had barely started. What followed was the most rapid territorial expansion in human history. 24 million square kilometers conquered. In the east, the Mongol armies shattered the Jin dynasty of northern China. Korea submitted. The steppe kingdoms of Central Asia fell one by one. To the west, the campaigns were catastrophic. The Khwarezmian Empire, modern-day Iran and Central Asia, was effectively erased from the map. The ancient city of Nishapur was leveled in 3 days. Baghdad, arguably the intellectual center of the medieval world, fell in 1258 CE. Mongol forces reached Poland and Hungary. Some accounts suggest only the death of the Khan Ogedei prevented a full invasion of Western Europe. By the time the empire reached its peak under his successors, it covered 24 million square kilometers, roughly 16% of all land on Earth. And yet, within the destruction was a paradox. Once conquered, the Mongols created the Pax Mongolica, a century of enforced peace across the Silk Road. Trade, technology, art, and disease all moved freely across the connected world for the first time. Paper money and printing techniques flowed along these routes. To understand how Genghis Khan's DNA came to exist in 16 million living people, you have to understand that reproduction was political. Mongol custom granted rulers multiple wives and large households. Crucially, social status was determined by patrilineal descent from Genghis Khan himself. This gave every male line descendant a powerful incentive to father as many children as possible. His grandson Kublai Khan maintained a court of several hundred women. Marco Polo documented this with barely concealed astonishment. After Genghis Khan's death in 1227 CE, his empire was divided into 4 great khanates. Each was ruled by his direct male descendants. This continued for centuries. The Timurid dynasty, the Mughal Empire, and the last emir of Bukhara all cited Genghisid descent as a source of legitimate authority. For 6 centuries, his bloodline was, legally and politically, the foundation of sovereign power across half the world. In 2003, a team of geneticists published a landmark paper. They had identified a specific Y chromosome haplotype, present in approximately 8% of men across a broad band of Asia. They called it the star cluster. Statistical modeling placed the origin of this cluster at a single common male ancestor living between 800 and 1,000 years ago in Mongolia. The haplotype's geographic distribution matched the historical boundaries of the Mongol Empire almost precisely. Its highest concentrations matched Mongol administration. The study stopped short of naming him directly, but it described the spread as a case of social selection, not natural selection. Power, not biology, drove the result. The only individual in the historical record capable of producing this frequency was someone with extreme reproductive access and extreme coercive authority. The global count of living male line descendants today, approximately 16 million people. No other individual in history comes close. Somewhere in the crowd of any major city in Asia, the Middle East, or Eastern Europe, statistically, there is a man who carries the star cluster. He almost certainly does not know this. He has no way of knowing this unless he has taken a specific genetic test. He carries in every cell of his body the same Y chromosome carried by the man who once ruled from the Pacific to the edge of Europe. History does not always announce itself. Sometimes it is simply there, in the background, in the blood, carried forward by 16 million ordinary lives. If you found this look into our shared history fascinating, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.